Imagine a silent American factory, a hollowed-out military, and a healthcare system buckling under the weight of 80 million seniors, with no young workers left to save them. The powerhouse that defined a century is running on fumes, and it's all because of a single, ticking time bomb that just hit zero. What happens when the world's superpower simply runs out of people? This isn't a distant what-if scenario. It is a mathematical reality unfolding right now. We've spent a century fearing overpopulation, but we missed the real threat, a world that's shrinking. If the engine of our society is people, and the supply is evaporating, the stakes aren't just high, they're existential. For decades, the narrative was simple. The world was getting too crowded. We built our entire civilization on the assumption that growth was a law of nature, and that a fresh supply of workers and consumers would always be there to fuel the engine. Most people still believe that if we just fix the economy, the birth rates will naturally bounce back. It's a comfortable thought, but the latest data suggests we are facing something much more permanent. The US birth rate hasn't just dipped. It has cratered to historic lows. We've spent years bracing for a population explosion, but what we're actually getting is an implosion. And the reasons behind it are far more complex than just a bad job market or a temporary trend. But here's the uncomfortable truth the talking heads usually skip over. This isn't just about empty wallets or expensive diapers. We've reached a tipping point where the very architecture of modern life has become fundamentally hostile to human reproduction. While we were distracted by the rising cost of rent, our social fabric was being quietly shredded by a digital revolution that replaced physical communities with curated feeds. It's not just a financial crisis. It's a biological and psychological divorce from reality. For the first time in history, we've created an environment where the survival of the fittest no longer means passing on your genes. It means surviving the crushing weight of isolation and digital burnout. We've traded the playground for the platform, and in doing so, we've accidentally engineered a society that is effectively opting out of its own future. The scary part? This isn't a glitch in the system. It's a feature of the new American reality. We aren't just choosing not to have kids. We are losing the social and biological capacity to even want them. But think this is just a side effect of too much TikTok or high rent. You're still missing the bigger picture. Behind the curtain of declining numbers lies a cold, systemic reality. Our entire economic model has pivoted from building families to harvesting individuals. We've weaponized the concept of success to the point where it acts as a biological deterrent. The hidden truth is that the system no longer requires you to be a parent. It requires you to be a perpetual, unattached unit of labor. We are witnessing the birth of a subscription-based civilization where ownership of a home, a car, and even a legacy is being replaced by temporary access. You can't pass a subscription down to the next generation. This isn't just a trend. It's the logical conclusion of a society that started treating people as depreciating assets rather than human beings. The machinery of the modern world hasn't just broken. It's been recalibrated. And in this new setting, a cradle is the ultimate overhead cost the economy is trying to eliminate. Traditional policymakers want you to believe this is a simple math equation, that if they just tweak the tax code or offer a baby bonus, the nurseries will fill back up. They treat the womb like a factory floor that just needs a better subsidy. But that is their fatal blind spot. They're trying to apply a financial patch to a structural collapse. You can't incentivize a legacy in a culture that has commodified the present moment. While the mainstream focuses on the price of diapers, they ignore the reality that we've traded the stability of the family tree for the flexibility of the gig economy. The elite are trying to buy back the future with pocket change, failing to realize that you can't build a tomorrow when the society you've created has made the very idea of forever obsolete. But here's the cold, calculated secret the US is betting on. It doesn't actually need to fix its birth rate to stay a superpower. While rival nations like China and Japan are demographically trapped behind closed cultural doors, The US is leaning into its most ruthless, unfair advantage, its status as the world's ultimate talent vacuum. We aren't just importing labor, we are executing a global heist of human capital. By sucking the brightest minds and most ambitious youth out of every other struggling nation, the US is effectively cannibalizing the rest of the world's future to replace the one it failed to build at home. It is a high-stakes parasitic survival strategy. If we can't produce a new generation, we will simply buy yours. The demographic apocalypse isn't a race to see who can have the most babies. It's a race to see who can steal the most talent before the music stops. This is the brain drain endgame, a desperate, invisible war where the prize isn't land or oil, but the very people other countries need to survive. But this global heist has a catastrophic expiration date. The US is betting its survival on a steady supply of foreign talent, but it's ignoring the most terrifying variable in the equation. You can't drain a brain that was never born. As birth rates crater in the very countries we rely on for parts, the global pool of human capital isn't just shrinking, it's evaporating. We are entering a cannibalistic era where superpowers will fight over a handful of remaining youth like scavengers over a carcass. And here's the fatal trap. A nation built entirely on imported labor is no longer a society. It's a corporation with a flag, devoid of the social glue required to survive a true national trauma. We have effectively outsourced our soul, and the supply line is about to snap. The US is no longer a powerhouse. It's a high-tech life support system, waiting for a power outage that is already scheduled. Because when the world's nurseries finally go silent, the talent vacuum won't be sucking in brilliance. It will be sucking in nothing but a cold, hollow void. That hollow void is the final, unmasking moment for a superpower that mistook growth for vitality. We spent a century perfecting the art of the now, optimizing every second for maximum output and immediate gratification, only to realize that a civilization without a future is just a very expensive funeral procession. The empty factories, the shrinking military, and the buckling hospitals aren't the cause of our decline. They are the symptoms of a deeper, more profound surrender. We didn't just fail to balance the budget. We failed to justify our own existence to the next generation. The ultimate irony is that in our frantic race to automate, outsource, and digitize every facet of the human experience, we successfully eliminated the burden of the family, only to find that we also eliminated the purpose of the engine. A nation is not a collection of assets or a series of quarterly reports. It is a relay race. By prioritizing the comfort of the individual over the continuity of the collective, we drop the baton. The enlightened truth isn't that we need more tax credits or better robots. It's that a society which views children as a liability has already psychologically collapsed long before the numbers hit zero. We are finally discovering that you can have all the wealth, technology, and soft power in the universe, but if you lose the courage to look at a cradle and see a future worth building, the lights don't just go out. They were never really on to begin with. The American century is ending not with a bang or a whimper, but with the deafening silence of a tomorrow that nobody bothered to invite. Ultimately, we are discovering that a nation is not a ledger to be balanced, but a story that must be told. We spent decades perfecting the machine, only to realize we've forgotten why we built it in the first place. The tragedy isn't that the system is failing. It's that it succeeded in making life itself feel like a poor investment. We traded the messy, beautiful continuity of the human family for the clean efficiency of a spreadsheet, and now we're left staring at the empty cells. A superpower without children isn't a power. It's just a sunset. If we can't find the courage to value a cradle over a career, then we aren't just witnessing the end of an era, but the end of our relevance. The lights are dimming, but the world keeps turning. To see how the US plans to fill the gaps in its shrinking front lines, Click here to watch how the military's new robots will change the face of war forever. The future is coming, even if we've forgotten to invite ourselves.